You have probably sensed it yourself. More conflicts, more self-centered behavior, more people willing to twist what you say, drain your energy, and turn every situation back onto themselves. Toxic behavior no longer feels like an exception. It feels constant. And if you have been wondering why society seems to be creating more toxic individuals than ever before, you are not imagining it. There are real psychological, cultural, and social forces coming together to create an environment where toxic personalities can grow, spread, and succeed. It begins with emotional shutdown. Modern life is overstimulating, endlessly connected, and always asking for more. Many people no longer know how to sit with discomfort, think deeply, or process what they feel. Instead, they take the quickest escape routes: avoidance, denial, and shifting blame. Over time, these choices become toxic coping strategies, where hurting others feels easier than facing themselves. When empathy stays numbed for too long, people stop recognizing the pain they cause. That is where a toxic mindset takes root. Then comes the culture of instant gratification. Everything is built for speed, fast entertainment, instant messages, immediate validation. When speed combines with entitlement, it produces people who believe they deserve results without effort. Toxic individuals thrive here because manipulation is rewarded, shortcuts are praised, taking from others without giving back becomes normal. In this world, emotional maturity feels optional, and selfishness feels justified. The most dangerous shift, however, is happening quietly: emotional illiteracy. People know how to share opinions, but not how to express feelings. They know how to argue, but not how to reflect. They know how to accuse, but not how to take responsibility. Without these skills, people fall into survival mode, and survival mode often looks defensive, aggressive, or manipulative. Toxic people are not born toxic. Many are emotionally underdeveloped adults who learn to function through control instead of connection. And society keeps rewarding that behavior. Social media amplifies the loudest and harshest voices. Entertainment normalizes narcissism. Influencers turn selfishness into an identity. Algorithms promote conflict because drama generates profit. The very platforms shaping modern values continuously feed the traits behind toxic personalities: envy, comparison, insecurity, and the need to dominate. Every time bad behavior gains attention, the message is reinforced: this works, do it again. Underneath all of this lies something deeper. People are becoming increasingly disconnected from themselves. When you do not know who you are, you search for identity through power, control, and superiority. When you are not grounded, you look for someone else to blame for your inner chaos. When you are afraid to face your weaknesses, you attack the weaknesses of others. That is why tearing people down feels comforting to toxic individuals. It distracts them from the emptiness they refuse to face. Here is a truth few openly acknowledge: society is becoming more fragile. People are breaking faster. They are overwhelmed, insecure, and desperate for any sense of control. When someone feels powerless inside, they often try to take power from others. It is a distorted survival strategy, but it is becoming more common as emotional resilience declines. Toxic behavior becomes a mask people wear to hide vulnerability they do not know how to handle. That is why moving through the world now feels like walking through emotional landmines. You speak to someone and do not know if they will respond with kindness or explode. You share an opinion and someone feels personally attacked. You set a boundary and it is treated as betrayal. People are not building stronger identities. They are developing thinner skins. Thin skin paired with a large ego creates the perfect conditions for toxic reactions. As a result, even simple interactions turn into battlegrounds. Words are twisted because of insecurity. Outbursts happen because people are overwhelmed. Blame is assigned because self-work feels harder. Manipulation replaces honesty because vulnerability feels unsafe. Society did not just create toxic individuals. It built an environment where toxicity becomes the default response for anyone who feels threatened by life, struggle, or their own reflection. The saddest part is that most toxic people do not realize they are toxic. They believe they are defending themselves. They think they are standing in their truth. They assume they are doing what is necessary to survive. Emotional dysfunction gets mistaken for strength, and control is confused with confidence. This illusion spreads because there is little pressure to grow, no reward for self-reflection, and almost no accountability for harmful behavior. The world is changing faster than people can emotionally process. Instead of adapting, many collapse into patterns that damage themselves and if you do not learn to recognize these patterns early and protect your energy, you will keep absorbing the consequences of a society that is losing emotional depth day by day. This shift changes you too. You become more guarded. You trust less. You build walls. You start expecting manipulation instead of kindness. Your nervous system stays alert because it knows how common toxic behavior has become. Slowly, society becomes a place where people do not relate. They defend. They do not listen. They react. They do not connect. They compete for emotional control. Another factor driving this shift is the loss of consequences. In the past, cruel behavior was checked by communities. Reputations suffered. People felt the weight of their actions. Today, someone can burn bridges and simply move on to a new circle, a new job, a new platform, a new identity. Accountability is optional. And when bad behavior carries no cost, toxicity multiplies unchecked. This lack of consequences also emboldens toxic individuals. They learn they can criticize freely, but if you respond, you are labeled sensitive or difficult. They misuse the language of boundaries to justify their behavior while condemning you for protecting yourself. Psychological terms get twisted to excuse actions they have no intention of changing. And because society treats emotional discomfort as injustice, toxic people exploit that weakness. At the deepest level, toxicity is rising because modern life rewards image over character. People want to look confident rather than become confident. They want to appear superior instead of growing. They want admiration without self-development. Performing a personality is easier than building one, so many choose the performance. The result is a world full of inflated egos, covering fragile inner lives. When ego outpaces maturity, toxicity fills the space. This is why arguing with toxic people feels pointless. They are not defending ideas. They are defending identity. They do not seek truth. They seek dominance. They do not want solutions. They want control. Every conversation becomes a battlefield because honesty and vulnerability threaten the image they rely on. The more fragile they feel inside, the more aggressive they act outside. The rise in toxicity also reflects a decline in self-awareness. People rarely pause. They rarely reflect. They rarely examine the patterns driving their behavior. They live in reaction instead of understanding. And when someone exists in reaction mode, disagreement feels like attack, challenge feels like disrespect, and boundaries feel like rejection. Emotional intelligence cannot exist where self-reflection never happens. But here is the empowering truth. The rise of toxic people does not make you weaker. It makes your self-awareness more valuable. As society becomes more chaotic, inner stability becomes rare. As emotional instability increases, calm presence stands out. As manipulation becomes normal, clarity becomes protection. You do not need to fix toxic people. You do not need to change them. You just need to understand how they operate, so you do not carry responsibility for their dysfunction. That understanding gives you power they cannot tolerate. Emotional independence. When you stay grounded, they lose leverage. When you remain calm, they lose influence. When you stay self-aware, they lose the ability to distort your reality. Toxic people thrive in confusion, but clarity weakens them. And clarity comes from understanding why modern society is creating more of them. So keep strengthening your mind. Keep reinforcing your emotional boundaries. Keep learning how to respond instead of react. You are living in a world where toxicity is increasing, but that only makes your awareness more essential. And if you want more insights that help you stay emotionally strong, in a world that is losing its balance, stay connected for what is next. Your clarity, growth, and awareness matter now more than ever. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe for more